Stephanie Dobson is back with us here again this week on Primetime Local News. We've been speaking with Stephanie, who's a local lawyer and mediator, about divorce and separation now for the past couple of months, talking about different topics, hoping to help families. And today we're going to go through part one of a two-part series. And this is going to focus on tips. So today we'll do the first 5 tips, talking about how to help kids thrive in a two-home family. So Stephanie, I'm going to get you to start with what we have as tip number 1, which is encouraging an open dialogue with kids.
And I chose this one because, you know, the one of the most difficult conversations that parents will have when they've decided to separate is to talk to the kids about their separation. And every child is going to be different as to how they absorb the information and the kinds of questions that they have, and even when they're going to be ready to talk to a parent or someone about how they're feeling about the separation and divorce. And, you know, to be able to have kids have an opportunity to even talk with another trusted adult other than a parent can sometimes be really helpful for them. In my e-learning community, Up a Notch Learning, we have a book library that has a ton of books that help kids to thrive as they go through separation and divorce, and to get them in touch with their feelings and to really start a dialogue between parent and child. And so anyways, I actually brought all my books today, and I kind of reread them in anticipation of today's, but I wanted to just share with you one of my very favorite books, and it really is about feelings for children. And it talks about this child, this little girl who feels like she's this big and has to, so small that she has to use a toothbrush to comb her hair. And part of it is about her keeping all of her feelings inside. And so what this book talks about is, once a trusted adult, and it happened to be a counselor or a teacher or something, that had got this child to start talking. When she talked about her feelings, she started to feel big again and her regular size. And really, that's every child goes through something different, but just giving the kids the opportunity to talk with someone, whether it be a parent, a neighbor, a friend, a counselor, a teacher, someone about their feelings, to get them to open up.
Okay, Stephanie, and tip number 2 is creating consistency and predictability in the parenting schedule as much as possible. Tell me about that.
So every family is going to have a different parenting schedule. Some families are very consistent and, you know, alternating weeks or every other weekend with one parent. And others are sort of more haphazard because of work schedules or school schedules or life in general. One of the things that we know about children and their development is that consistency and predictability can really help children to thrive. And so if you can do things like creating a shared calendar where the kids know when they're coming and going, it really helps to let them know when they're going to be seeing the other parent and to not miss the other parent so much. Also, it helps them in feeling secure and knowing what to expect of their comings and goings and where they're going to be on a particular day. And even it helps them to feel a little bit more in control of their environment. When a child goes through a separation and divorce, so many things are out of their control. And if we can help them to learn about their schedule, it does help them to just get that little sense of control.
Okay, Stephanie, and the next tip, tip number 3, is to encourage distance parenting by either video chat or phone calls. Why is that important?
Well, building upon the scheduling piece, of course, parenting time might be equal, it might be unequal as far as its quantity of time. And one of the things that we can do to create a little bit more equality in that relationship between between the children and each parent is to create opportunities for distance parenting. So that, I mean, every kid these days knows how to use technology, whether it's FaceTime or Google Meets or, you know, Facebook Messenger for kids, those sorts of things. Some kids even have texting, or some kids like to talk on the phone still. And so providing these opportunities for children to reach out to the other parent, of course, not so much so that it interferes in the other parent's time with the children, but so much that it builds that relationship. And, you know, these kind of things can be either spontaneous. Some kids chat more on these devices and others don't. And it might be age dependent as well. So if you don't have a consistent or spontaneous schedule for these kind of communications, you may want to set a schedule, like, for example, every week on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, say at 6:30 p.m. we're going to have a video chat with the other parent, or you know, something like that can be really helpful.
Okay, and tip number 4, Stephanie, is children should never be used as the messenger. Why is that important?
Well, this one is pretty self-explanatory, as in we don't want parents to communicate to each other through the child or through children. So communication should always be direct parent to parent. They should never be putting the child in a position where they have to send a message. It really helps, creates them to feel like they're in the middle. When a child passes a message, it can often result in some negative feedback to the child from that parent. So think about an example where, the child says, well, mom told me to tell you such and such. And then the response by the parent is, well, you just go and tell your mom whatever. And it really causes a child to internalize that and to make them feel badly. Now, when a child hears what they're supposed to tell their other parent, the other piece to this is the reliability. If you think back to the game of telephone tag, by the end of the tagline, the message has often been misinterpreted or misspoken in some way. And so then you really have an issue with the reliability of the message that's being passed in any event. These messages go even deeper than just the verbal messages back and forth. It also goes to passing things back and forth. So it might be a child support check. It might be something else that the parent needs to get to the other parent. It's really important to do that directly or electronically.
All right, and as we wrap up quickly here, Stephanie, the last tip is maintain a quality relationship between the children and each parent. So just before we go here, can you give us a little bit of information on tip number 5?
So quality does not have to equal quantity. So I would consider relationship qualities things like engaging with each other regularly, being actively involved with the things that are of interest to the other to the children, participating in day-to-day activities. That might be doing a music lesson by FaceTime, even if you're not physically present with the child, being available to them uninterrupted. Mealtime without electronics. I know it sounds crazy, but it's really important. And these can be face-to-face or video chat opportunities.
All right, Stephanie, well, thank you so much for joining us this week, and we will be back next week with the rest of the tips. Thank you once again.
Thanks for having me, Stacey.